Yo everybody, what's good? MMATOAD here. We're about to break down UFC 311, the revision, and go through a couple things. Starting on the main card, let's get into it. Arman out. His team was helping him cut weight, gave him a little too good of a sweat, fucked up his back. He's out. Moicano in, Arman out. Moicano can't afford to lose. He wants the pay-per-view points. The man's determined, and he understands that law of attraction. This dude is literally hungrier than I think almost any other contender they could have put up there. Yeah, he was on the same card, cut, ready. UFC was able to pivot away from Dariush, but why are you going to have a main card with two lightweight, top-ranked fights, by the way, and not have that backup? You can travel all around the world and have these backups step in short notice, but hey, we're in the States. We got all kinds of fighters around us, and you ain't getting a fight for Dariush. He wanted a fight in front of his hometown. I don't give a fuck that you paying him. Look at the man, father of time. Like, he wants to make that last run, and bro, I'm sad we're missing out on this fight. Now, focusing in a little bit more on that main card, Islam, father's playing. Coach Khabib plugged in the corner. He's going to be doing the same for Umar, Tiger. Like, these dudes do not fuck around. But I'm also not going to sit here and act like it's impossible. Islam Makhachev is a complete package. Pound for pound number one, no disputing that. We've seen some adversity on the feet, and yes, it took some of the most elite level striking from someone like Dustin and Volkanovski to get there. Volkanovski won, of course, but my point is that Moicano, he's got good speed. He can leverage some nice combinations. I think that the biggest thing for him is keeping this fight on the feet as much as he can and leveraging that BJJ to try to get up. I don't see him being able to really out-grapple Islam on the ground especially. That's probably the worst place you want to be in. And I could easily see Islam hitting a dart stroke by second round. I'm not doubting any of this, but I'm hoping that because of the hungriness, that law of attraction, and all the things that's going through Moicano's head in that octagon when no one else knows what that is, he knows exactly what he's got to do, solve some of these pieces to the puzzle, and give us at least 3 rounds of all he's got. That's what he trained for, is 3 rounds of all he's got, and we could be witnessing one of the greatest upsets in MMA history. Now, Islam's my pick. I saw the plus 750 on Moicano, couldn't resist it. And that's a long shot. That's a Hail Mary. For Islam, his prop, Peyton Talbot, those guys just ain't paying a whole lot individually. So I like to focus on distance. You get these fights where you're guaranteeing it isn't going the distance. Lock that shit in. You got some great legs to parlay that with. Almeida, Talbot, Reese, Howland, Yuri Hill. Like, again, the fight with Islam ain't going the fucking distance. Like, that's where you're going to make the money at. Something to be a little cautious on this main event is that shoulder of Moicano. It's not looking so hot on the scale. We know he sustained that injury during his time training for BSD, and sadly, Islam's like the worst opponent. You want to have some type of shoulder injury going into these grappling exchanges. You know, a lot of pressure, a lot of power. That torquing could totally just end a fight prematurely. So a little cautious on my method hunting on this, via than going just single method submission. I like double method, KO or submission. So if we had some kind of stoppage like that, it's not bricking my parlays. So moving over to Umar and Merab, same kind of situation. Merab sustaining that injury to the leg. Umar, he's ready, he's game. They catapult this dude for a reason. But I'm also not counting Merab out. The dude is the machine, and the resume shows that he's been in there with some of the greatest to ever do it for his division. Now, the thing that Merab, I think, needs to focus on for keys to success is not allowing Umar to sit at range and utilize that arsenal of kicks and things that he brings that not all these other opponents have. I mean, to be fair, a lot of Merab's opponents have been really boxing orthodox, and dude, Umar's got some crazy Muay Thai that could fuck him up real early in this fight, and especially chop down on those legs, which has got to be a game plan with Coach Khabib back there running that controller. We also have to think how that leg affected Merab's camp. Will the machine be able to sustain the gas tank for rounds 4 and 5, assuming the fight gets there? That's something I'm waiting to see, because you have to consider this isn't just an ordinary matchup for Merab where he's fighting a predominantly boxing-heavy opponent. He's fighting someone who will just as easily take the grappling exchanges to Merab, and I'm expecting Merab to lose a bit of these. Now, that is probably the biggest cliffhanger fight on the whole card for me. I just wish that Merab was at 100% so that I don't have these like second guesses of like, well, Could it have gone any better for him? Next on the card, fight I'm extremely pumped for, Yuri and Hill. Ever since a little debacle in the woods, I am coming! Well, now we're getting to see the outcome of this two former champion collision. Yuri kind of dissecting the things he's doing wrong, keeping that guard real low. He knows that Hill will catch it out immediately, and he says he's made some changes, and, well, that's waiting to be seen. It's not always easy to hear that going into a fight, especially with a guy who's done something for so long and is making last-second changes at this level. It typically doesn't go his way, but, like, we saw in that fight at 300, like, Yuri can get his ass beat and still come back in a fight. Like, he's got some dog. He went through a war with Glover. Like, I know Poatan didn't make him look like he could take an ass beating as well, but the dude's hands are made of stone, and, well, he's got some spiritual ancestors that were tied into those left hooks. Now, with Hill, he's faster, he's technical, and he can grapple too if he really wanted to. But I have to imagine Jamal's headhunting. He needs that spectacular knockout, that finish to kind of start to distance and shadow 300 a bit. Like, don't get me wrong, he's got all the publicity with the Poatan headlines and so forth, but is it the kind that you want to see, especially as a fan? Not really. Like, it's kind of pushed a lot of the fan base away from Jamal Hill. And I think when he's in the octagon, he's a great fighter. It's just all the shit outside of the octagon that's kind of pushed away some of that fan base. So I want to see him do his thing, restore some of that. At the same time, look at the heart of Yuri. All the, the self-disciplines and his way, his pride of being a true samurai, like a warrior. Like, I don't know. I think it's easy to follow and it's aspiring. I mean, it's just, he seems like just such a good fucking dude from what we've already seen. And then you go out and see, the actions this week, like, hey, I'm cutting my hair anyways, but he's changing the life of someone who, went through something that affects so many of our families, myself especially. Like, I lost my best fighter of all time, my mom, to the shit. So hats off to Yuri there. That's a fight where it's a pick'em because I like both fighters a lot for different reasons. Like, Jamal's holding down the Midwest. Black Lion's like an hour from me. You want to hit me with the 20 G's, I'll show up and get my ass beat, but it'd be an honor to shake your hand, say what's up. Yuri, dude's just easy to follow. I enjoy him a lot. Now, the thing I think for keys of success for Yuri, his like weird spinning elbows and shit in the clinch, if it started to get to the edge of the octagon, throw it. I think it's your best shot. Because, I just don't see Yuri playing a good game of chess against Jamal. Someone who's, again, a bit more technical and isn't having to try out some of these things, test and fail. Like, this isn't the dance partner to do it. Jamal will put you out, and we'll see another Johnny Walker timber. So, anyways, I have respect for both fighters, and I'm excited to see that one as a fan. And in my own ways, I'll be happy regardless of the outcome. But my pick was Jamal. Next, we got Jailton Almeida taking on Spivak. Another great stylistic matchup. Both guys about similar in weight and size. More than familiar with each other's pedigrees of what's going to happen. The game plans typically take your opponent to the ground, hunt those submissions, and start to bust open your opponent with those elbows. You got to remember that 12-6 at this division with both of these guys. We could see a really nasty early stoppage there, so keep an eye out for that. I think double method makes sense. KO, submission, either guy you go with here, and distance is definitely a no-go. That being said, I'm going to roll with Almeida as long as he doesn't put himself in a situation where he's putting his head out there eating like 20 shots off the side of the head like he did against Curtis. I see him getting the fight down to the ground and just really controlling Spivak however he wants. Wrapping up the main card, we got Kevin, Big Mouth, Trailblazer, Howland taking on DeRitter, the Refrigerator. It's a nice stylistic matchup, just like the rest of the main card. I will say this, Kevin's got DeRitter on the feet, but I think in those grappling exchanges, we could see Kevin get controlled and taken down and not really do a whole ton. I think if DeRitter was smart, because his takedown attempts are pretty sloppy and would easily allow Kevin opportunities to really catch him out in punishing ways. Kevin doesn't have to be perfectly fully invested into these shots. We've seen the man fucking KO people off his back. He's got snappy power. And, I think if DeRitter was smart, he'd try to work to the body. And I actually experienced the same injury Kevin sustained in that fight with Delice. It's like swinging rib syndrome. You get all that cartilage between the ribs. And when that shit's crashing around, moving around due to a fracture, it's pretty painful, not going to lie. So I can imagine getting kicked there, punched there. You know, reopening up that wound would not do well for Kevin in this fight. Would be really awkward to see him quit 2 fights in a row, though, because look at the fights prehistorically. I know Kevin's a gamer. He's been one of the most active fighters in UFC history. But, I mean, we're just so used to seeing guys like Kevin sit there in these gunfights, shooting their 45, 70s. But, I don't know, man. He really needs this one, especially after this week. It's going to put him back in that Jamal Hill slate where it's like, dude, you did all these things outside the octagon. It didn't go your way, except for reverse order of that scenario, obviously. And it's not going to look good for him moving forward. So I'm a fan of Big Mouth. I'm a fan of Trailblazer, whichever one he decides he wants to be. Right now, he's deciding to be Big Mouth. I just hope he shows up, gets his own highlight, and maybe squash this thing with Rampage. I think would be good for him. Moving into the prelims, I'm going to make this a little bit more brief. Up to this point, if you like the circumstantial shit that I just kind of throw up as I review the fights and bring up different circumstantial things, hit a comment below. Tell me why you like or dislike it. I greatly appreciate it. Anyways, highlight prelim, you got Talbot and Barcelos. If you didn't lock in with Moicano as a huge underdog in terms of payout perspectives, Barcelos is another one of those two. Talbot, we've only seen spectacular things, but we haven't seen a ton from him yet. So there's still, a lot of question marks we have. He jokingly threw that video out there before going to France. Like, if I was to beat me, I'd hit me with a low kick. As soon as his opponent did, he jabbed right down the fucking middle and knocked his opponent out. He's just got that nasty, unexpected power at the end of those snappy shots. I hope they build him into this role instead of just catapulting him. I think he's got a lot to still demonstrate, and we have to figure out. Just looking at the top of this prelim, I'm seeing for sure these last 3 prelim fights, likely finishes. Reese, surprising snapping power, and he's got that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in his back pocket. That fight will be interesting. Also, I like Guskov, relentless pressure. He likely gets the fight down to the ground, finishing as well. And I'm not going to count out the fight with Dawson either and Ferreira. That fight, very likely, going to see some fireworks here on the ground. Dawson's like very hit and miss. Like 1 second, he's down on the ground, leveraging just amazing ground and pound, getting opponents to turn and give up their backs. And the next, he's the one receiving just fatal shots that put him out by surprise. So look at the top of the prelims there. Each and every one of them things could be a fun distance parlay to say, hey, doesn't go the distance. Look at the last 4 events, right? The last 3 or 4 events, we've seen a lot of surprising knockouts, a lot of surprising finishes. And the great thing about this one versus last week is we actually got a real fucking crowd this time. So I could see these guys turning it up. A fight that I'm expecting to go to the judges and see a little fucking nasty ass, stinky ass dances from Perez. Yeah, I'm just taking Rosa. I've always believed that Perez was only going to get to a certain level and it wasn't going to be super, super far before finally facing some adversity. Not that she couldn't, develop more as a fighter, but it looks like her focus is on other things as well. So I'm going to take Rosa in the fight with the veteranship to win that one. I like Nakamura. Nice mix of wrestling. Easily going to either edge a decision via judges, but he could get the work done with his hands or work some vicious ground and pound, utilizing that new 12-6 and get it done within the distance, but I will stay away from the distance on that one. Prior to that, we got Sopai taking on Ricky. Both guys need it. Both guys getting finished. Sopai more so became part of a highlight reel, right? You got Oliveira doing Air Jordan knee across middle of the octagon, flatline Sopai across the edge of the octagon. Don't ever turn your back to your opponent. He's coming out looking for vengeance here. Ricky also looking for vengeance, getting choked out to Rosas Jr. Hope you find it in your heart and your blood and your veins through all the fires and the flames of LA and all the gays. Anyways, I don't know. He rhymed something like that one time. I became a big fan of Ricky. So much respect to the man. Hope he has his own success in the fight. Wrapping up the picks. If you guys made it this far, I greatly appreciate it. Comment Toad down below. Let me know that you did it. And again, much love. I'll make more of these. You got Tiger taking on Carpenter. Iron sharpens iron. We already know Kumbekov's looking great. Coach Khabib, the guys, making sure he's fight ready. Bit large and lengthy in stature. Carpenter, a little bit more well-balanced. Tiger's going to be hunting a submission. Carpenter's going to find success with the hands. I could see this going to the judges, but either way, I hope you guys enjoy your fight night. Much love.